71.28, the pound buying $1.22 and €1.10. LBC weather, cloudy with outbreaks of rain in parts of the north and west of England through tonight, clearer elsewhere, a low of 14. Tomorrow, heavy showers across Scotland, slowly clearing, dry and warm further south with a high of 27 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Lisa Aziz.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. I read a radio review in the Daily Telegraph on Monday that said if you listen to the Nigel Farage Show, you get an alternative reality. And how right she was, because since Monday, I've been telling you things are not as they seem. The media keep running reports. Boris fires salvos to Brussels. Brussels, France and Germany refuse to respond. And that is just so far away from the real story this week. I pointed out to you on Monday that Boris had sent a letter to Donald Tusk in which he'd said his highest priority was to get not the, but a withdrawal agreement. That means amending the backstop. Now, we saw yesterday Angela Merkel saying, yeah, actually, there is room for manoeuvre. And today, Boris has been to the Elysee Palace to meet French President Emmanuel Macron. The Elysee, magnificent place. I was fortunate enough myself once to have lunch there. And off he went. And still tonight, you've got main media channels reporting Macron rebuffs Johnson, but it's just not right. So let's have, in this alternative reality that is the Nigel Farage Show on LBC, where we're quite good, I think, looking at the track record and predicting the future, let's listen to what Boris said to Macron today. Listen to the words.
I want to make it absolutely clear to you, Emmanuel, to the French people, that, of course, I want a deal.
I want a deal.
And I think we can get a deal, and a good deal. And I was powerfully encouraged by our conversations last night in Berlin with our mutual friends. And I know that with energy and with creativity and application, we can find a way forward for all our businesses and our citizens. But as you yourself have just pointed out, Emmanuel, it is vital for trust in politics that if you have a referendum, then you should act on the instructions of the voters. And that is why we must come out of the EU on October the 31st, deal or no deal.
Well, from a Eurosceptic perspective, at least he said deal or no deal. But look, he keeps talking all this week about he wants to have a deal, by which he means he wants to have 99% of Mrs May's withdrawal agreement. He just wants the backstop changed. And as I say, forget what you're seeing on much mainstream media right now at 6 o'clock, who are telling you that Macron rebuffed Johnson, it's all impossible. Let's listen again carefully to the words of French President Emmanuel Macron.
We will make the most of this period of time, and Michel Barnier will be part of that, the European negotiator, trying to find solutions without totally reshuffling the withdrawal agreement, because there has always been a lot of work and it's been approved by the 27. I very much want all of us to find a solution. That being said, I can be very clear. We will not find a new withdrawal agreement within 30 days, which will be very different from the existing one. It is just that what Michel Barnier has negotiated can be amended.
Amended, you see, amended.
Complying with the integrity of the single market and the two goals I mentioned, then we can find a solution. Let's
listen to that key part of what Emmanuel Macron had to say today, which everybody else seems to have missed. Here it is.
What Michel Barnier has negotiated can be amended.
So Macron says we can't change the whole thing. It's impossible. Wholesale change is not going to happen, but we can amend it. And what is Boris Johnson asking for? He's asking for an amendment on the backstop. He's asking for what he calls alternative arrangements. Let's hear Boris on that point.
I think what Angela Merkel was saying last night, if I got her correct, I think I was standing next to her, she said, if we can do this in 2 years, then we can do this in 30 days. And I admire that can-do spirit that she seemed to have there. And I think she's right. I think that the technical solutions are readily available, and they've been discussed at great length. You can have trusted trader schemes. You can have electronic pre-clearing for goods moving across the border. I just want to repeat one crucial thing. Under no circumstances will the UK be putting checks at the frontier, and we don't think it's necessary from the point of view of the EU to do that, to protect the integrity of the single market. We think there are other ways of doing that. We've got, I think, adequate time to do it. Let's get on and do it.
Boris is going for a withdrawal agreement. Forget all the talk about do or die. Oh, I know there are some. And I spoke to some Tory MPs this morning who said, no, Nigel, don't worry. He's just doing this because he wants to appear to be reasonable. He's doing this because he doesn't want, the sort of Philip Hammond wing of the party to vote against him in a motion of confidence. But don't worry, Nigel, they tell me. He's really going for a clean break, no-deal Brexit on the 31st of October. But then those very same people told me, Nigel, pack your tents, go home, because Theresa May is going to deliver. I don't believe any of it. I think Boris Johnson is going all out for an amended withdrawal agreement. Added to that, a political declaration that will effectively leave us tied to the European Union for many years to come. That's my view. But look, let me ask you, is Boris Johnson, at the end of this week, any closer to a withdrawal agreement than he was at the start of it? And if you think, yep, Nigel, you're right, they're softening in their language, call 0345 6060 973. Or maybe you think, no, frankly, they're just being polite to him. It isn't going to happen. They're going to go on playing hardball because they want to force him into having a second referendum. Text to 84850. And let me ask you, Boris is presenting himself as the only real Brexit comes through me. Is it desirable to have an amended withdrawal agreement put to the British Parliament? Let me know what you think. Please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And, of course, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Let's go to Jerry, who's a first-time caller to me from Caterham. Good evening, Jerry.
Hello, Nigel. Good evening. It's nice to speak with you. I'll have to hand it to you. I'm not an admirer of you, but I will have to admit that you're a superb communicator. Right.
Well, having said the nice bit, you can now fire your salvo in. Go on.
Okay. Right. I have had the Brexit lies up to the back teeth, right? First of all, I come from within about 20 minutes drive of the Irish border, right? Now, unfortunately, you or Boris or nobody who's perpetuating this hard Brexit has any idea. You have just got no idea what it is like on the Irish border.
What, right now?
Right now, yeah, or what it was like. What it was like.
But Jerry, isn't that right? Isn't that rather different? Isn't pre the Good Friday Agreement a rather different world?
Yes, it is. But part of that Good Friday Agreement, please don't, it is, I find it incomprehensible that I listen to politicians in the UK here who will actually say that the Good Friday Agreement sort of is kind of past its sell-by date and things like that. It is shocking to say that. It is, you really, anybody who says that type of thing really does not understand or know what they're talking about. You really don't. There is no way, like as regards getting agreement, there is no way in the world that Boris or any of his ilk will get an agreement of any way, shape or sort from the EU, because the EU will not throw the peace in Northern Ireland under a bus.
Jerry, I'm sorry. Jerry, I'm really sorry. You tell me that you know intimately the border, so you will know as I do that if we went to that border right now, we would find from one side of a field to the other different income tax rates, different excise duties, different corporation tax rates, a different currency. And yet, on the basis of live and let live, since 1998, it's all working pretty well, Jerry, isn't it?
It is at the moment working pretty well.
Right, so why... So let me ask you, why, if we had to add tariff to that, would suddenly the gunman start causing difficulties. Why?
You see,
Why?
you just don't understand it. Because
I'm asking you why.
Because you are making it a different. There are going to have to be restrictions.
Why? Adding tariff to all those economic differences that are there already, why would that make the gunman reactivate? Please.
I'm not guaranteeing you that somebody, but I can.
Well,
guarantee
thank God for
this,
that,
Nigel. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I can't say that it's impossible to happen. It's opening the door for it.
Why?
It's opening the door. Because the Good Friday Agreement, as Nigel, you should know, is a very, very finely tuned document that is taking into consideration.
But we're not going to get rid of it, Jerry. We're not going to get rid of the Good Friday Agreement.
But Nigel, what's happening here is effectively getting rid of it. You've got to believe. You've got to see this.
Nowhere in the Good Friday Agreement does it talk about tariffs or customs unions.
No.
It's not even mentioned in the Good Friday Agreement. Now, I accept, Jerry, that the status quo was different then because we were both EU members, and I do accept that point. But honestly, Jerry, I think you're fear-mongering.
No, I'm not. Believe me, Nigel, I am not fear-mongering about any of this. This is the type of thing that I'm fed up of listening to by saying you're fear-mongering. Honestly, believe me, if you speak to people who know, I'm talking to people who really know, there are going to be huge problems. The thing, unfortunately, is when you talk in a tariff, there are going to have to be checks somewhere. Somewhere they're going to have to be.
No, Jerry, there aren't. Because actually, the people that import and export across that border are the same companies day in, day out, week in, week out. Under trusted trader schemes, they can pre-declare all of these goods. Jerry, you know, that border is operating with massive financial differences, including different currencies. I just don't buy the argument that this blows up the Good Friday Agreement in any way at all. But, Jerry, let me ask you. Let me ask you a separate question. Let me ask you a separate question. What? Do you not accept that the line I've been peddling, some would say, on LBC all week, that there is now a significant softening of the position from Tusk, from Merkel, and indeed from Macron, means there could be an amendment to the backstop as it currently stands?
No. There cannot. No,
right.
Absolutely not. That is a red line. And the thing, Nigel, is...
Well, why, if it's a red line, Jerry, if it's a red line, are they all saying that they're prepared to amend it?
No, they're not actually saying they're prepared to amend it. They're saying for diplomatic reasons there are things that can be negotiated.
Well, I tell you what, Jerry. Listen, Jerry, let me play you a clip from President Emmanuel Macron today. Just bear with me.
What Michel Barnier has negotiated can be amended.
Can be amended. The backstop can be amended.
No, unless you get practically the same thing as the backstop. Nigel, if I can give you a little example, right?
A quick one.
I have a house in Southern Ireland, okay?
In the Republic.
In the Republic, okay? Now, I bought some kitchen appliances, right? Now, the shop I bought them in happens to be, as I say, in around 25 minutes from me, but it happens to be 1 kilometre inside Northern Ireland, okay?
Right.
Now, the reason I bought the items was they have an excellent range, excellent prices, and excellent after-sales service, etc. Now, what actually happened when I bought the items, you cannot bring home a fridge, freezer, etc. in the boot of your car. So the shop that actually sold me those just sent a van, delivered them, simple. That cannot happen with this whole carry-on with Brexit.
Why? Jerry, you're making problems where they don't exist. I accept that in years to come, there may be some slightly different product specs between the United Kingdom and the Republic. But I promise you, Brexit does not mean we're going to become, a sort of Arthur Daly type economy, selling you things that blow up or catch on fire. Jerry, I have run out of time. You are listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 17 minutes past 6 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
French President Emmanuel Macron has told Boris Johnson a new Brexit Withdrawal Agreement will not be possible within 30 days, but hinted some changes could be made to it. A man from South East London's been cleared of sending an offensive video on WhatsApp of a Grenfell Tower model being burnt on a bonfire. A 10-year-old boy has died after being found unconscious in a caravan in Birmingham. LBC weather: cloudy with some rain in parts of the north and west of England through tonight, clearer elsewhere, a low of 14 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Jo Louise Nice, and there are long delays on the clockwise M25 on the northern stretch from the Humsdale Tunnel at 25 all the way to an accident around junction 27 for the M11. One lane is closed. Anti-clockwise, a car's broken down between 25 for the A10 and Potters Bar at 24. Now, if you're heading out of town on the A2 anytime soon, expect queues from the Danson interchange to an accident which is now on the hard shoulder just before the M25, but traffic is still slowing there past the scene. Expect delays if you're heading out of town on the A12 as well. An earlier broken down car at the Greenman roundabout's left queues from the Lee interchange, and it's very slow around Victoria as a gas leak has shut Eccleston Street.
This is LBC.
For low tyre prices you can't compare with National Tyres and Auto Care. Exhausts, brakes and batteries too. And we've got a branch close to you. And now you can spread the cost over 3 equal payments with our payment assist plan with no interest and no fees on selected purchases. Call for a quote on 0800 687 687 or find your nearest branch at national.co.uk. National Tyres and Auto Care, helping you spread the cost of motoring. Minimum spend, terms and conditions apply.
This is LBC.
LBC Business Hour with Ian Dale. Every Thursday evening from 8, answering questions from new startups to established companies.
When it comes to selling your startup business, nobody can actually have that passion that you've got for it yourself. For me, that's why the startup failure rate is high, because they don't know how to market and sell themselves, and if they don't sell, they don't have a business.
LBC Business Hour with Vodafone Business. Unlimited data plans specifically for small businesses. LBC.
You know their names. Now, find out who they are. Listen to Full Disclosure with James O'Brien, an insightful podcast featuring rare, candid conversations with the biggest names in politics, entertainment, and sport. And while James gives you a look into their lives, keep an eye on yours with Blink, wireless home security cameras you can monitor on your smartphone. Full Disclosure with James O'Brien. New episodes every Monday, thanks to Blink home security cameras.
For the ethical startups, for the caring community businesses, for the pioneers with a conscience. We know it's hard to be good in business. That's why the Cooperative Bank is offering new customers 30 months free everyday business banking. Search Cooperative Bank Business, where profits and principles go hand in hand. The Cooperative Bank, for people with purpose. Join us. New customers maintaining a credit balance of £1,000 plus, monthly limits for cash and cheque transactions. Other charges may apply, e.g. foreign and chaps payments, subject to status and eligibility. T&Cs apply.
Those fine wines in your collection, those special whiskies and spirits that you've tucked away, what might they be worth? Visit thelondonwinecellar.com, upload your list and receive a free same-day valuation. With nationwide collection, immediate payment terms and price match guarantee, step aside auction houses. From Bordeaux to single malts, from one bottle to large investment portfolios, find out more and ask about the price guarantee at thelondonwinecellar.com.
The Furniture Village birthday sale is on now. Everything's reduced, with up to 40% off hundreds of sofas, dining and beds, including all our famous brands. So come in store or go online now. But hurry, many offers end Bank Holiday Monday in the Furniture Village sale.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
For those that follow it, it's the first day of the second Ashes test up at Headingley, and new sensation Jofra Archer has taken 2 wickets. The Australians 5 down for 140. The other contest this week is Boris versus the European Union, seen by many media commentators to be a head-on collision in which there can be no compromise, and I've been seeing this since Monday very, very differently. I think even Emmanuel Macron today telling us that there could be an amendment to the withdrawal agreement tells you Boris is going for a withdrawal agreement. Why is he doing it? Well, I spoke to a couple of Tory MPs today who said, look, he has to do this because otherwise the Philip Hammond wing of the party might support Corbyn in a motion of no confidence if they think he's going for a so-called hard no-deal Brexit. Others think, oh, well, he's just showing how reasonable he is. But actually, in his heart, he wants to leave with no deal. I don't believe any of it. I think we've seen a big change of tone in Boris Johnson this week. Now, one or two of you, of course, do not like me saying this, indeed. Tom from Glossop in Derbyshire says, I'm a Brexiteer. I'm disappointed you're jumping to conclusions so quickly and dividing the Brexit side. I believe you should unite behind Boris. Tom, they told me that when I first said in July 2017 that I believe the great Brexit betrayal had begun. Hey, I was right that time. And I'm not saying it's a slam dunk that Boris has sold out. I'm saying I'm worried about the drift over the course of this week. Another one here, you see. Fred from Coulsdon says, ye of little faith, Boris will sort out the backstop. If the EU are now caving in at last, a leader with gusto and guts. Fred, I don't want the withdrawal agreement and the attached political declaration, even if the backstop was removed completely, which it won't be. I still think it's the worst deal in history. Karen from Chipping Sodbury says, Boris is keen to keep his job rather than keeping to his words. And Karen, I think that's what, in many ways, this is all about. It's also, for a Prime Minister, easier, isn't it, to pass a withdrawal agreement, to have a 2-year transition and not to face the really tough issues. That's what I think. You can tell me I'm wrong. Bonnie on Facebook says, it's important to listen to both sides. Why would the Irish suddenly want to resume violence? Well, Bonnie, that was the point I was making to our caller before the break. Let's go to Leatherhead and speak to Richard, who's a new caller. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Are we getting closer towards a deal, Richard?
I think we are getting closer towards a deal, and I think the steps that Boris has done yesterday in Germany and today in France are actually very positive, and I think that it points towards getting closer to accepting the withdrawal agreement. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. You know, there's still work to do. The emphasis is clearly on the UK to withdraw the backstop from the agreement and to find an alternative solution. But I think the steps he's taking are positive, and I think the EU stance is much more positive than it has been in a long period of time.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There's no question, Richard, that everything we've seen from Tusk, from Merkel, and indeed today from Macron, it's a very different song that they're singing to the one we heard before. But can I ask you, Richard, a separate question, but equally important question? Mm-hmm. Is it desirable to have this withdrawal agreement and political declaration even without the backstop?
Well, I think so. And actually, the reason I phoned is because I was surprised to hear your opinion on the fact that you clearly think that no deal is better than the withdrawal agreement that we have.
Oh, yes, I do.
And I think when you talk about the great Brexit betrayal in 2017, literally just now, I actually think that you're wrong in a number of manners. First of all, the political declaration is not linked to the withdrawal agreement.
Actually, Richard, it
trying
is.
To get through her deal.
Actually, it is, Richard. I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Theresa May was trying to pass a deal. It was very clear from everyone that was speaking, that the withdrawal agreement only allowed the political declaration to go through. The political declaration isn't legally binding. They might be two documents that are attached, but the political declaration is not legally binding.
So, Richard, on that point, having entered into a transition period, having handed over 39 billion, having accepted the continued dominance of the European Court, having accepted that EU laws will continue to be made for this country and be supreme, over which we'll have zero say, with the political declaration, do you understand the EU don't have to give us a single thing?
Well, they do give us a lot of things, and I actually view the fact
they
that
don't
we're
have to give us
EU laws as a positive thing.
Do you? So you're a Remainer, Richard?
No, I'm a Brexiteer. I voted in 2016.
Good
Lord.
Lord.
But I believe that EU law is beneficial and food safety standards are beneficial.
You're a very strange leaver, Richard, aren't you?
And actually, well, I think I think I'm realistic about the future of the UK, and I'm realistic about the benefits that the EU brings to the UK.
You're not a leaver, Richard, are you? This is all nonsense.
Do you agree, Nigel?
This is rubbish, isn't it? You didn't vote leave.
Do you believe that the EU brings benefits to the UK? Some.
Absolutely none.
Absolutely none.
No, waste
so
of space.
No deal
cost us a fortune, damaged our democracy, cut us off from much of the rest of the world. No, no. Richard, I'm going to move on. I simply don't believe you. All right? I'm sorry. I'd already say that. Jackie is a first-time caller from the Isle of Wight. Hi, Jackie.
Hello, Nigel.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Now, has Boris moved closer towards a deal in the last few days?
No, he hasn't. I think that it's ridiculous the way things are going and we should just leave. And all this that they're saying about a month to sort things out, even then they're going to turn around and say, no, it's not suitable, it's not practical, and they're just going to keep going back to the Irish border and they're going to use it against us as much as they can to try and weaken the Brexit from leaving and give the Remainers more chance to fight their corner. And I just think we should leave. I don't understand why they're making all this fuss about the border in Ireland when there's no borders around Switzerland.
Right. Jackie, so you're a hardline extremist, are you?
I just want to leave.
I'm teasing
I really want to leave, and I cannot believe that that Boris Johnson, it's in our DNA, isn't it, to be polite and not offend. And it's making us look silly because we're not being assertive and we're not being strong about any of it. There's no roar.
But Boris now seems to want a withdrawal agreement.
But it's no good. We don't want a withdrawal agreement. We need to get out.
Jackie, listen, I'm with you completely. I thank you, and I can tell you believe it passionately. By the way, I didn't cut Richard off for being a Remainer. I cut him off for saying he was a leaver who believed that EU law being supreme was good. And look, we get all sorts of people phone this show, and particularly new callers. We never quite know who they are. But for goodness sake, that argument did not work for me. Boris is going all out for a withdrawal agreement. I think he's made big progress this week towards it. You tell me whether that's right or wrong, but equally, you tell me whether it's desirable. I think it is wholly undesirable. I just want to leave. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:30 in time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
The French president has told Boris Johnson a new Brexit withdrawal agreement will not be possible within 30 days, but hinted some changes could be made to it. The Prime Minister's had talks with Emmanuel Macron in Paris and appealed for a solution to the Irish backstop problem. A man's been cleared of sending an offensive video on WhatsApp of a cardboard Grenfell Tower model being burnt on a bonfire. 47-year-old Paul Bussetti from South Norwood told Westminster magistrates the video wasn't intended to be about the deaths of 72 people in 2017. President Trump's former White House press secretary has now joined the journalist she used to argue with. Sarah Sanders has been hired by Fox News to provide political commentary and analysis. LBC weather, cloudy with outbreaks of rain in parts of the north and west of England through tonight. Clearer elsewhere, a low of 14 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Pro-life protesters have lost their legal challenge against the UK's first buffer zone around an abortion clinic. Claire McCulloch, who's director for the Good Counsel Network.
I think that somebody needs to stand very close to the gate to offer a leaflet. Only one person needs to do that.
Gary Abel, who chairs abortion rights.
It's out of place, isn't it?
I don't think what we're doing is traumatising women.
If they want to protest that Britain has safe, legal, free abortion, they should go to the NHS and protest outside the Department of Health.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero. Get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
Some things are just so confusing, like alternative milks. What do social influencers do? And why is fake news even a thing? Get past the confusion with the Confused.com Beat Your Car Renewal Quote Guarantee. If you can't beat your renewal quote on a like-for-like basis, you'll get the difference plus £20. Tell us what confuses you and enter to win £1,000 at lbc.co.uk. Don't be confused. BeConfused.com.
The Furniture Village birthday sale is on now. Everything's reduced, with up to 40% off hundreds of sofas, dining and beds, including all our famous brands. So come in store or go online now. But hurry, many offers end Bank Holiday Monday in the Furniture Village sale.
It's bank holiday time. Get to B&Q and get set for that painting project. Our huge range will help you do it Sunday and enjoy it Monday. Like Dulux 5-litre coloured emulsion for just £20. So, for all your bank holiday paint essentials, you can do it when you B&Q it.
It was a Sunday morning when I jumped on the tube.
And decided to pop down to Greenwich via
a large indoor jungle.
And when I got there, I was captivated by a sparkling
scary dinosaur just standing there right in front of me.
So off we went to Wembley Park
to look at the colourful fish.
Tap into the wonderful world of off-peak London. Travel in zones 2 to 6 for £1.50. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
£1.50 is an adult off-peak pay-as-you-go fare for a journey not going via Zone 1 on Tube, DLR and most London Overground services. Always touch in and out with the same card or device to pay the right fare.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
If you've already got one of the 13 million smart meters installed across Britain, we'd just like to say
thank you.
Our electricity needs are predicted to double by 2050. So we have to upgrade our outdated energy system. Just by having a smart meter in your home, you'll be helping the system to better anticipate demand and reduce waste. So we just like to say
thank you for getting the smart meter.
From the Campaign for a Smarter Britain.
I had been to another dentist and had long conversations about bone grafting.
At Darwood and Tanner, our experience with dental implants often means bone grafting is not necessary.
When I met Andrew and he looked at the various x-rays, he said, you do not need to have bone grafts. He can work around places where there is no bone or there is little bone.
Download your information pack at darwoodandtanner.co.uk today. Your smile is our healthy obsession.
This week at Dreams, you can sleep even better with super savings on a choice of stylish bed frames and comfy mattresses. And there's even free delivery. Don't miss out. The Dreams Super Savings event ends Tuesday. That's what dreams are made of. T's and C's and minimum spend applies.
Leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
I think Boris Johnson has made huge progress this week towards getting a withdrawal agreement. There is clearly some potential give on the backstop. Not that I regard that as being a desirable thing. Tell me, am I right? Is that where this process is now going? Before that, just a quickie. The Office of National Statistics tell us they underestimated the number of migrants coming into Britain from the EU over the 2015-16 period by 16%, 30,000 people. And isn't it funny? One of the narratives that we've had from Alistair Campbell and his friends is because of Brexit, everyone's deserting Britain, there are no nurses, we can't cope. The truth is, people are coming in still in huge numbers. And by the way, many of them very good people. That has never been the argument. Back to Boris and what he's trying to do. Back to the backstop, back to the border. Annie in Berkshire says, if it's Boris's intention to merely tinker with May's withdrawal agreement, it won't work. Well, it might work, Annie, if the Houses of Parliament voted for it, but I'm not convinced they will. Boris is turning out to be all talk and no trousers, says Paul. If we're heading for a withdrawal agreement, we're back at square one. The treaty should be dead. Why is Boris bringing it back? Nigel, do you really believe there'll be any changes to the backstop? It will not happen. I get on Twitter. Well, do you know what? You can say that, but put yourselves in the EU's position. Actually, if they think that the British government is serious about no deal, and they'll think it a little bit more than they thought it with Mrs May, they might give some ground on the backstop, because after all, to trap us in a withdrawal agreement with a political declaration that they never have to deliver, they'd have us where they want us for several years. So I think they are going to give something over the next 30 days. Tell me I'm right, tell me I'm wrong. Michael, a first-time caller from Ripley in Derbyshire. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Nigel. Can I first of all say that I've been told by the wife that if I do get through to you, I've got to wear my Brexit membership badge.
Right, OK. So you're a true believer, Michael?
Absolutely, 100%.
And what do you make of Boris this week? I mean, you know, since he became Prime Minister, I mean, he said things that all of us on the Brexit side have liked. But what about this week, Michael?
Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen, Nigel.
Right.
And you've predicted it yourself many times. What's going to happen is they're going to drop the backstop or amend it into a situation where he can get it through Parliament. I believe that Parliament will go for any deal right now, as long as it's a deal, just to get themselves out of the mess they've got themselves into. So he knows that he's going to go back to Parliament with a deal, and they're all going to vote for it. He's going to get it through, and then he believes that will then give him the opportunity to go to the country, have a general election, and Conservatives will stand on the premise that they deliver Brexit. I think they're deluded because I firmly believe that the majority of people who voted Brexit want a no deal. They don't want the stupid deal or this treaty, you call it.
Michael, it is a treaty.
Freedom to do what we want to do and make our own laws and so on. That deal is going to tie us into Europe forever. And Europe knows that, and they'll be prepared to give up the backstop in order to get that.
I listen, I think you're right. Let me ask you a separate question. Mm-hmm. You know, I know how you feel about this, and I feel about this, but is it possible that many millions of people would say, do you know what, it's not perfect, but at least it's Brexit, we'll vote for Boris in a November general election?
I totally agree with you.
Could he get away with it, Michael?
Yeah, I think he's relying on the fact that people are fed up with it all, that anything's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And if he goes back to the people, he's hoping that he's going to claw back enough levers or to add to his remainers to get the Conservative Party back in power. And I think that's a major problem. And I would suggest that anybody who's voted leave, that in a general election, regardless of what the Conservatives or Labour say, that they should vote for the Brexit Party.
Yeah, but the difference is, Michael, he'll be in power.
What's going to happen is, as soon as he calls a general election, he's going to say, well, the Brexit Party is irrelevant because they only wanted Brexit and whatever.
And we've delivered Brexit. I am St Boris of Brexit. Michael, thank you. Michael, having thought that through, I have to say, I can see the logic of that. You know, deliver the withdrawal agreement, call it Brexit, call an election, say I've delivered, despite the fact there are years of misery to come. Steve is a new caller from the Isle of Wight.
Hello, Nigel.
Hello there. So,
all right, mate.
Is Bojo making progress, Steve?
I smell a rat. I smell big rat. I do, mate. I really do. As you've just said, he said all the right things when he first got elected. Before he got elected, he said all the right things, and we're all thinking, oh, yeah, here we go, at last. And then he goes over to Europe. I mean, first of all, what's he doing in Europe? If he was true to his word, he'd be saying, you come and see me, but he's not.
Yeah, I have to say, Steve, I did say this last night. I thought that doing what Mrs May had done and visiting the European capitals looked very weak. And also, Steve, he's going to Biarritz at the weekend for the G7. He could have met them there, couldn't he?
Oh, well, of course. It really stinks. As a staunch Brexiteer here, going through along with 17.4 million other people, the ups and downs and the false hopes, and then how many hopes dashed. Right now, we felt it's coming, but we've been going over there, like the previous caller said. They sort of jiggle about with the backstop, and try and sell it as Brexit. Now, I'm hoping that. I mean, I consider myself Joe Public, normal Joe. Voted for Brexit, hoped for Brexit, and if the amount of people that voted leave feel the same way I do, nothing short of a clean break, no deal will do. I won't be...
Steve, I get that. And I feel the same way. But is it possible, as I asked the previous caller, that people are so weary 3 years on from the vote that even if Boris delivers a fake Brexit, they might be tempted to buy it and vote for him?
I've got to be honest, the previous caller said, yeah, they would. Now, I would say Parliament would. You come back with a slightly changed thing, because I reckon when they voted the original withdrawal agreement down, they were hoping they were going to stop Brexit. Now we're getting that close. The people that voted it down in Parliament are getting really nervous. So he comes back, and even with the slightest amendment, you've got like the likes of Stephen Kinnock.
But will the public, Steve? Will the public buy it, even if it is a rotten deal? Will they just say and breathe a sigh of relief that it's been done and we've got Brexit, even if it is Brexit in name only?
If they feel as strongly as me, Nigel, not a chance.
Okay, all right. I've got you, Steve. I've got your measure. Thank you very much indeed. Richard is a new caller from Coventry. Good evening, Richard.
Hello, Nigel. How are you doing?
Yeah, so my basic premise is that Johnson has moved much closer this week towards getting a withdrawal agreement. Do you agree?
Well, he's going to get some kind of deal, and I think that a lot of people seem to be quite negative, and they ought to give him a chance, and so should you, really. I mean, you don't know what's being discussed behind closed doors. Nobody does. But I take him for his word.
Well, OK, Richard, let's take him at his word. His word is, if you amend the backstop, we can act quickly, and I'm confident Parliament will vote for it. So what he's saying, Richard, is that provided the backstop gets changed, he's happy with the other 99% of Mrs May's withdrawal agreement with the added political declaration, which many of us thought was the worst deal in history.
Nigel, I think it's the worst deal in history as well, but I think you're interpreting it differently than what I would. I mean, what he's saying is you have to remove this backstop, and we can start talking. So that's a prerequisite for him to decide that he's not going to withdraw. So that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to agree with the other 99% of what was agreed by Theresa May. He's just saying this has to go, and then now let's talk.
No, he's not saying that, Richard. He's not saying that. He's saying change the backstop and I will accept the rest of the withdrawal agreement. And I will then act rapidly and put it through Parliament. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary stuff, isn't it?
It is extraordinary. It didn't actually... I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. You know.
Well, look, I've read between the lines of what he said.
That's exactly right. No, I mean, with the greatest respect, I think you are reading between the lines.
Yeah, because you have to in this situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing which I'm not a big Boris fan anyway, and I just, so you know, I voted Remain, but now I want to leave because of the way, the EU have treated us.
Okay.
But what bothered me a bit more is I think that they're a bit sneaky and they're going to draw this out. I mean, at the moment, we're in a very good position economically to negotiate anything, but imagine in 2 or 3 years' time, things don't go so good for us. I mean, they're all, Italy, Spain, France, they're all dying a death. But in 3 or 4 years' time, when things perhaps change, because the fact that we're doing not so bad at the moment, we can only go one way, which is down. So let's just say in 3 or 4 years' time, when things aren't going so good for us, if that happens, and things start to change for them, then we're in a terrible position to negotiate anything. This is what bothers me.
Well, Richard, I can't predict the economic future. All I can say is that the EU is headed for a huge downturn and we're headed for one, but not quite as big. Richard, thank you for your call. And please, Remainers, what do you think of Boris's strategy? Do you think he's doing the right thing? Because if we had a withdrawal agreement, we'd stay much closer to the EU than if we left with a clean break Brexit. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:45 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
French President Emmanuel Macron has told Boris Johnson a new Brexit withdrawal agreement will not be possible in 30 days, but hinted some changes could be made to it. A man from southeast London's been cleared of sending an offensive video on WhatsApp of a Grenfell Tower cardboard model being burnt on a bonfire. More than 100,000 Royal Mail staff are to be balloted for strike action in a dispute over job security and employment terms. LBC weather: cloudy with some rain in parts of the north and west of England through tonight. Clearer elsewhere with a low of 14 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and the M26 is crawling eastbound towards an accident after Rootham at junction 2A. It's slow back towards the M25. There's still got this accident on the clockwise M25 near the Belcommon Tunnel at 27 for the M11. The queues go all the way back to the Holmesdale Tunnel at junction 25. Anti-clockwise just after 25, one lane is closed with a broken down car. Now, if you're heading towards the northbound Blackwall Tunnel, it's slow from the Woolwich Road flyover up towards the tunnel entrance where a car has broken down. A building fire in South Hackney has shut Victoria Park Road near Grove Road, and it's slow around Victoria as the gas leak has shut Eccleston Street.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Clive Bull.
What's your verdict on Boris Johnson's trip to meet Emmanuel Macron? Plus, advice for your company in the Business Hour. And first, the day's big stories in the News Hour.
Clive Bull on LBC. Andrew Castle, every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7.
So you're comparing Boris Johnson with Adolf Hitler?
I'm just comparing the 160,000 people, and these stupid people actually believe all that.
Every time somebody on your side of the argument sneers at those who you consider beneath you, that is another vote for a populist government.
Andrew Castle.
With Vodafone Business, unlimited data plans specifically for small businesses.
LBC.
There are few greater joys in life than a sumptuous hot bath. Time to let the stresses of the day just melt away. Unless your plumbing goes. That's a recipe for a meltdown. But Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable. So if you need a plumber or other professionals in their trade, just relax. Trusted Trader are only a click away.
Summer's finally here, and at the BMW Summer Event, we're celebrating with a wide range of models available to drive away today, so your perfect BMW couldn't be closer. Search BMW Summer Event or visit your local BMW centre before the end of August to find your perfect BMW and explore our range of tailored finance options. BMW UK Limited is a credit broker, not a lender. BMW Finance is subject to status for UK customers over 18 only. Guarantees may be required. T's and C's apply.
Football is back on Sky Sports.
With our total football offer, you get all our football for just £18 extra a month.
Absolutely amazing.
Sky Sports has more live games than ever before and more of the biggest fixtures. That means more passion, more drama, more glory. All for just £18 extra a month.
And it's live.
Search by Sky Sports. Sky Sports Football and Premier League, £18 a month for 18 months. Requires Sky TV. Prices may change during this period. Offer ends September 26th.
Whether your washing machine's on the blink or you're creating your dream kitchen, we've got over 8,000 electricals in stock at AO.com. When it comes to buying appliances, we'll take care of everything from start to finish. We'll even recycle your old appliance for you for as little as £20. AO.com, the online electrical store.
AO! Let's go!
Terms and conditions, availability and geographical exclusions apply.
Alan, her next door's off again to a coastal holiday home, no doubt. Since when did she splash the cash?
She's not even forked out on a bag for life.
It's never been more affordable to buy a Haven holiday home. And if you buy now, your 2019 site fees are on us. Search Home is Haven. Valid on all new customer sales made by 1st of September 2019. For full terms and conditions, visit haven.com/free site fees. Haven, a breath of fresh air.
Have you ever lost money on an investment? If a high street bank persuaded you to buy a stocks and shares ISA, unit trust or investment bond and you lost money, Goodwin Barrett can help you get back thousands of pounds in compensation. Even if you don't have the investment anymore or the paperwork, Goodwin Barrett make it easy to find out. Text SOLD to 66777. That's SOLD to 66777.
Goodwin Barrett.
You don't need a claims management company to make a complaint, and if unsuccessful, you can refer it free to the Financial Ombudsman.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Berlin yesterday, Paris today, leading Russ from Croydon to say that Boris is running around Europe touching his forelock in subservience. Well, Russ, many will think that, but I think he's making progress. I think they're softening their view towards the backstop. My next caller is Liz from Cricklade, who we've spoken to before. Good evening, Liz.
Hi, Nigel. How are you?
Hello, good. So is Boris making progress?
No, I don't think he is.
Really?
There is no progress with the backstop. It's there for a reason, to protect the island of Ireland and the single market. And there is no getting out of the backstop unless England goes it alone and
we could ditch
Northern Ireland.
Well, Liz, I just implore you, listen for a second. Let's hear Emmanuel Macron on the backstop earlier today.
What Michel Barnier has negotiated can be amended.
albeit through an interpreter, Liz, I grant you. But there is. I mean, good cop, bad cop. Merkel's a softie. There is give here, isn't there?
They change a word on it. I mean, what's an amendment? I mean, that's really.
But hang on, Liz. Isn't that all that Boris is asking for?
Well, we shall see, and then he'll present it to Parliament, and then we'll see what all the likes of Francois and the Raven Loonies do about it. They'll start. Who knows? The basic truth of the matter is the best deal is remaining. We have more power. We have more say over everything. Going into the withdrawal agreement that Theresa May negotiated, even if they amend or slightly amend the backstop, it means we end up as a vassal state, which is a very uncomfortable place to be. And we'll end up in a long, long transition, and everything will rumble on forever. And no deal is just absolutely cataclysmic, particularly we farm. And for farming, no deal is just unbelievably bad. And that will also have an impact on the people in this country, because their countryside will be affected.
So as a Remainer, Liz,
there is no good Brexit, Nigel.
Which as a Remainer would you prefer? Would you prefer a withdrawal agreement or a clean break Brexit? Which would you prefer?
I prefer to remain. I prefer no Brexit.
But given that that's not on the table and that's not going to happen, which would you prefer?
Neither. I want to remain. I mean, I'm just not accepting any Brexit.
Look, I want to win the 100 metres at the next Olympics, but it isn't going to happen. I have to accept that. Given that Brexit...
We can revoke. Nigel, we can revoke. We can have another vote. Why should we not have another vote?
Because why should we?
The mandate for Brexit is over 3 years old. I mean, it's more mouldier than Miss Havisham's bedroom.
But because it's not been delivered by a political class who wouldn't respect the will of the people.
It's not that. It's because we should have had a vote after they decided what Brexit meant. So to have a vote before you even know what it is ridiculous. That's the problem. Nobody knew what Brexit... Everyone voted for Brexit for a million different reasons.
Just as people vote for the Labour Party for a load of reasons, or the Tory Party for a load of reasons.
I said to someone today, why don't we have it? Because you know what? I really don't like football. So, there's a lot of people that don't like football. So why don't you have a referendum to leave football?
Because, Liz, you don't have to watch... No, Liz, you don't have to watch football. You don't have to watch football. But good news, Liz, is the Australians are now 6 wickets down. Does that cheer you up?
No, I'm not that keen on cricket either, really, to be fair, but I prefer cricket to football.
So you don't like football, you don't like cricket, you don't like Brexit.
Well, I can tolerate.
What do you like? Come on, Liz. Cheer us all up. What do you like?
I like rugby.
Very good. Well, the World Cup's coming later this year. Liz will speak again, and Liz is a Remainer. She's not prepared to countenance any of it. And, OK, fine, that's her point of view. But we're discussing here, has Boris made progress this week with a new withdrawal agreement? And I believe that he has. I say a new one. It's not a new one. It's Mrs May one, with 1% of it amended. Jasmine is a new caller from Bristol. Good evening to you.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. I'm very well. Now, I'm told you're a Remainer, Jasmine.
I am indeed. I am a Remainer.
Right.
Yes, proudly so.
Fine. So what do you want to see happen? I mean, Boris, do you agree with me that Boris is edging towards an amended withdrawal agreement?
I never thought I'd see the day where I agree with Nigel Farage, but yes,
well,
I do think he is edging towards a withdrawal agreement.
Yeah.
I do think that. And well, in my ideal situation, I would agree with the last caller. I would want us to remain, revoke, etc. However, with the somewhat unlikelihood that will probably not happen, I think it's a good thing. I think the only reason it is a good thing is because we had such a split vote, almost 50-50, obviously not entirely, but we had such a split vote. Compromise is needed. We can't just, at this point, throw all our toys out of the pram and say, we have to leave no matter what.
It was 3 years ago, Jasmine. It's about time we did leave, isn't it?
And I get it. It's exhausting. It would be exhausting for anyone to debate something for 3 years. But we do need to have a plan. we do need to have a plan. I think it's an awful idea for anyone to leave any situation without one. And honestly, I want to get on board. I want to say fine. I want to accept that leave might happen. But I would want to get on board knowing that there's some sort of plan, because falling into some sort of disaster before it gets better will not work.
Why do you, Jasmine, why is it you think that the United Kingdom, the fifth biggest economy in the world, becoming an independent nation is a disaster? Why do you think that?
I don't think it's necessarily a disaster.
Right.
I think it's a disaster with no plan. I think anything is a disaster with no plan. And at the moment, no deal, no plan. So if Boris is moving towards a withdrawal agreement, great, because what he's showing is a sense of compromise. And this is not me supporting Boris, because I really, really don't.
See, Jasmine, I think what you're saying, I think what you're saying is very interesting, because I think there'll be Remainer Conservative members of Parliament who are drawing much the same conclusion as you. And I wonder whether one of the main reasons Boris is going down this route is he fears that if he goes for a clean break, no deal Brexit, that he might lose a vote of confidence. And I wonder whether Oliver Letwin, Jasmine, is listening to people like you and saying, actually, this is the least bad result we can get as Remainers.
I think you're right. I think he's making a smart political move. I think it's a smart political move that works in Remainer's favour slightly, but also I think it would give Jeremy Corbyn a brilliant platform for a vote of no confidence, of which I would support Corbyn with that. But he's right, he will lose, because there is still that, 47, 48% that wanted to remain. And there may even be some now that are just so exhausted with it, they'll just go against Boris. So, yeah, I think it is.
OK, Jasmine, great call. And, you know, our conversation proves that Leavers and Remainers can have civilised conversations. And I thank you for that very much. And that's important in democracy. It's certainly important here at LBC. Now, I'm done, but I'll be back on Sunday morning after the G7 at 10 a.m. At 10 tonight, it's Tom Swarbrick. But up next, it's Clive Bull.
Nigel, thank you. I'm with you between now and 10 here on LBC. Coming up at 8, it's the LBC Business Hour. And if you run your own company or you're looking to start one up, you've got an idea, you want to turn into a business, well, call the Business Hour for some help and advice. It's also a chance to plug your business. At 9, we come back to Brexit. I'm asking for your verdict on that meeting between the PM and the French President. Is Boris Johnson getting somewhere, or is it a pointless waste of time?